All right. So today we're diving into database consolidation, specifically looking at benchmarking.
Okay.
And, we all work with relational databases. And this is super important if you're thinking of moving those databases, right, to maybe newer hardware or, the cloud.
Yeah, the cloud's a big one these days, for sure.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's kind of like benchmarking is like taking your database to the gym.
Oh,
You
yeah.
want to see what it can handle
Right. Push it to the limit.
before you make any big decisions. So first things first, we've got to figure out which databases can actually live together peacefully without, causing performance headaches.
Right, because you don't want them fighting for resources all the time.
Right, exactly. It's like finding good roommates for your databases.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And that's where this idea of workload compatibility comes in. So you've got to make sure that the databases that you're thinking of putting together, their demands for resources, that they don't clash.
Okay, so how do we actually figure that out? How do we know if they're compatible or not?
Oh, well, the first step is to think about when are those databases really busy? When are they using the most resources? So you might have a database that's super busy during the day, handling all those online transactions.
Right.
But then you've got another database that's mostly used for overnight processing.
Okay, so their peak times are different.
Exactly. So those two, their demands wouldn't really overlap much,
So that would be a good sign.
Right. That's a great sign for compatibility. Because they're kind of taking turns, right, using those resources.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just what kind of database it is, but how it's being used.
Exactly.
Okay. So what else do we need to think about?
Well, we also need to look at what kind of resources those databases rely on, right?
Okay.
So some databases, they might be real hungry for CPU.
Right.
While others might need a ton of memory,
Like they all have different appetites.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have two databases that are both constantly trying to eat up all the CPU, that's not going to be a good mix.
Right. They'll be fighting over the same food, basically.
That's exactly. So it's all about balance, making sure everyone gets what they need.
Okay. So we figured out which databases can live together.
Yeah.
Now, how do we know what kind of hardware we need for this new setup?
Right. So this is where things get a little bit more technical.
Okay.
We have to go beyond just looking at, how much RAM and CPU the individual servers have now.
Right. Because it's not as simple as just adding everything up, is it?
No, not at all. There are all these other factors, kind of intangible things, that can really affect how much resources you actually need.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, you've got things like, specific settings within the databases themselves.
Uh-huh.
How are those configured? Then you've got how people are actually using those databases.
Oh, right. User behavior patterns.
Exactly. And even the time of day can play a role.
So even if everything seems compatible on paper, there could be these hidden resource hogs.
Oh, for sure. For example, you might have a database that seems pretty chill during normal hours.
Right.
But then every night, bam! Some huge job kicks in and just eats up all the CPU.
So if you didn't know about that, you'd be in trouble after you consolidated.
Big trouble.
Okay, so we can't just rely on guesswork. We need to test things out, right?
Absolutely. Thorough testing is key. And that's where benchmarking tools come in.
Okay, let's talk about those. What can these tools do for us?
Well, one really powerful tool is Benchmark Factory. It basically lets you create these realistic simulations of your consolidated environment.
Okay, so we can run these tests before we actually do the consolidation.
Exactly. You can mix different types of workloads. You can make them more or less intense. You can even throw in some unexpected spikes.
Wow, so we can really push those databases and the hardware to the limit.
Exactly. It's like a dress rehearsal for your consolidation project.
Okay, I like that. So can you give me an example, how would we use Benchmark Factory to figure out the hardware we need?
Sure. Let's say you're thinking of consolidating a bunch of databases onto this new server.
Mm-hmm.
With Benchmark Factory, you could create this mixed workload benchmark, simulating, online transactions, those batch jobs we talked about, everything.
So we're building this virtual day in the life of our databases.
Exactly. And as it runs, Benchmark Factory is watching everything. It tracks how much CPU is being used, how much memory, all that stuff.
Okay, so it gives us all this data about how the hardware is handling the load.
Right. And then we can use that data to decide, do we need a bigger server, more RAM, that kind of thing.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if we want to test the hardware itself?
The hardware itself?
Yeah, before we even think about the databases. Is there a tool for that?
Absolutely. There are tools specifically for stressing out your hardware.
Okay, so we can see what it's really made of.
Exactly. One of those is called SLB. It stands for Simple Little Oracle Benchmark.
SLOB, okay. Straightforward name.
Yeah, right. And it comes with this script called DB benchmark.
DB benchmark. Got it.
In this script, it lets you push your hardware to the max, really see where the bottlenecks are.
So it's like taking your hardware to its breaking point.
Pretty much. And the best part is it gives you all these nice graphs so you can see exactly what's going on.
Okay, so those graphs show us things like CPU usage, memory usage, all that.
Yep, all the important stuff. And we can use those graphs to make some smart decisions about our hardware.
Got it. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from figuring out which databases can live together to testing out our hardware. But before we go any further, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button.
We'll be back in a moment to explore DB benchmark and all that it can do.
Looking forward to it.
See you soon.
See you then.
So we're back and ready to dig into this DB benchmark thing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually.
All right, so remind me, what is it exactly?
So it's this script that comes with SLO, and you can use it to run all sorts of tests on your hardware, like really put it through the ringer.
Like we're simulating these intense database workloads.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how the system handles it, where it might start to struggle.
So we can spot any potential bottlenecks before they become real problems.
Exactly. And the best part, it gives you these easy to read graphs. It's not just a bunch of numbers.
Oh, that's good. Because I'm more of a visual person,
Right. And these graphs show you all the key things: CPU usage, run queue length, how much RAM you're using, disk I/O, all that.
Okay, those are all things we talked about before. But how do we make sense of these graphs? Like, what are the red flags?
Right. Good question. Let's start with CPU. So you're looking at that CPU usage graph, and ideally, you want to see it kind of bouncing around, not constantly pegged at 100%.
So high CPU usage means we might need more processing power.
Yeah, it could. But you also want to look at the run queue length.
Run queue length, what's that?
It basically tells you how many processes are waiting in line to use the CPU.
Oh, okay.
So if that number's high, it's another sign your CPUs are struggling.
Got it. So long run queue, bad news for our CPUs.
Yeah, pretty much. You might need to think about more cores or faster processors.
All right, what about memory? What does that graph tell us?
So the RAM usage graph, that shows you how much of your system memory is being used.
And we want to see some free space there.
Definitely. If it's always maxed out, your system's going to slow down, maybe even crash.
Not good.
Nope. And, especially if you're putting databases together, you got to make sure you have enough memory.
Right, because they can be memory hogs.
Oh, they can. So if you're seeing high RAM usage in your tests, that might mean you need to add more.
Okay, makes sense. Now let's talk about disk I/O. That one's always a tricky one, right?
Yeah, disk I/O, it can really make or break your performance.
So what are we looking for on that graph?
Well, you're looking at how fast your system can read and write data to the storage.
Right, and this is where things like SSDs come in handy.
SSDs and NVMe drives, yeah.
Yeah.
Those can make a huge difference.
Because they're so much faster than traditional hard drives.
Way faster. They can really speed up your data retrieval, reduce latency, all that good stuff.
So if we're seeing slow disk I/O, we might need to think about upgrading our storage.
Yeah, it could be. And DB benchmark, it even shows you network stuff, too.
Network stuff.
Yeah, like throughput and latency.
Right, because our databases might be talking to each other over the network.
Exactly. So those metrics can be important, too, especially these days.
So with DB benchmark, we're getting this complete picture of how our hardware is performing.
Pretty much. It's like an X-ray of your system.
I like that. But all this talk about hardware and benchmarks, it can get kind of overwhelming,
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot to take in.
What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out with all this?
First, don't panic. Start simple. Focus on your most important databases. Figure out what they need. And then use something like DB benchmark to get a feel for how your hardware's doing.
So baby steps, basically.
Exactly. And remember, there's help out there. Look at the documentation, check out online forums. There are even consultants who can help you out.
So we don't have to go it alone.
Nope. And don't be afraid to play around a little bit.
Play around with our databases.
Yeah, try different things, see what works best. Benchmarking is all about testing and tweaking.
I guess that makes sense. So the goal is to really understand how our systems behave.
Exactly. So you can make the best decisions for your setup.
All right. That's great advice. So we've looked at identifying compatible databases. We've talked about these benchmarking tools. And, sometimes those benchmarks tell us we need more resources than we thought.
Yeah, the dreaded resource gap. It happens.
And that's what we're going to tackle in the next part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
So we're back. And we're tackling those moments when you run your benchmarks and you realize, uh-oh, I need more resources than I planned for.
Yeah, that resource gap can be a tough one, especially when you've got budget constraints.
Oh, absolutely. It's like hitting a wall in your consolidation project.
It can feel that way, yeah. But before we just throw more hardware at the problem, we should really look at what we can do with what we've got.
Okay, so optimize first, then think about upgrades.
Right, exactly. Squeeze every bit of performance out of our existing setup.
So where do we start with that? What are some key areas to focus on?
Well, one of the biggest things is tuning those database configurations. Often there are settings that can be tweaked to get better performance without needing new hardware.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, indexing is a big one. Indexes are like those little helpers that let your database find the data it needs super quickly.
Oh, okay. So good indexing means faster data retrieval.
Exactly. And that takes some load off your system.
Okay, so indexing is crucial. What else can we tweak?
Caching can make a big difference too. If you store frequently accessed data in memory.
Right, so it's readily available.
Yes, your database doesn't have to go digging around on those slower disks all the time.
That's smart. So we're making things easily accessible for our databases.
Exactly. And then there's query optimization. You can sometimes rewrite those SQL queries to make them more efficient.
So we're basically streamlining how the database works.
Yeah, pretty much. And even small changes to a query can sometimes make a big difference in performance.
That's awesome. But let's be real. Not everyone's a database expert.
True, but there's help out there. Most database vendors have great documentation, online forums, even consultants who can guide you.
So we can get some expert help if we need it.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to try things out, experiment a bit.
Play around with our databases.
Yeah, within reason. Try different settings, see what works best for your setup. Benchmarking is all about testing and tweaking.
Okay, that makes sense. So even if we don't know all the ins and outs, we can still optimize our systems.
For sure, you can. But sometimes, even after all that optimizing, you just need more horsepower.
Okay, so what do we do then? Time for hardware upgrades.
Could be. You might need to add more RAM, get faster storage like those SSDs we talked about, maybe even beef up the CPU.
So we have a few options depending on what the bottleneck is.
Exactly. And these days, we're not limited to just physical hardware, The cloud's a whole other world.
Yes, the cloud. It's like a magic bag of resources.
Kinda, yeah. Cloud platforms let you spin up virtual servers with exactly what you need. So if you need more CPU, boom, you can get it.
It's like an on-demand hardware buffet.
Pretty much. And cloud providers have all these database services too, that can really fit into your consolidation plans.
So the cloud can be a real lifesaver when you need more flexibility and power.
Absolutely. It's a great tool to have in your belt. And, whether you optimize what you have, go to the cloud, or do a mix of both, benchmarking gives you the information you need to make those decisions.
Right. It's all about making those data-driven choices.
Exactly. No more just guessing and hoping for the best.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. Workload compatibility, benchmarking tools, optimization strategies, even the cloud.
Yeah, it's been a good overview of what it takes to consolidate those databases.
And we hope it's been helpful for everyone out there. Remember, benchmarking is a journey, not a destination.
Keep testing, keep learning, and keep those databases running smoothly.
And if you've enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like this episode, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the tech world.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.